So here comes the big one. We've been building to this, and I'm very excited. But one of the clear merits of the aims of analysis is that you speak about and give examples of concepts where people are able to have an handle on, or an easy handle on, a given concept. And my question then is, what is your handle on the real unconscious? And just to give that minimal context is, this is in some respects quite a confounding theoretical development, particularly if, for someone like me who spent so much time, you do the Freudian thing, and then you come to Lacan, and then you go, whoa, okay, unconscious is structured like a language. And, Lacan clearly spends a lot of time making sure we've got the multiple ramifications and importance of this idea. So, one spends a lot of time in mid-period Lacan thinking all the different vicissitudes and possibilities that come from that. And then we get this idea much later on that the unconscious is also, at some level, a real unconscious. Can you help us out with this, Tom?
Sure. Let me approach this through a couple different ways. First of all, it's to acknowledge, that you could almost say we have this in Freud, even to go back to Freud, in the sense that you have the unconscious made up of this repressed material, and then you have the drives. So for Freud, it's the Freudian unconscious. And then the fact that there's also the drives to deal with, to contend with. So you have this sort of, meaning, let's just call it a dimension of meaning, and then a dimension of the drive or the libido. And I think the notion of the real unconscious is a lot based on a distinction Jacques-Alain Miller makes between the transferential unconscious and the real unconscious. The transferential unconscious is one that is operative in the analytic experience based on the existence of a subject supposed to know, and a lot of work on meaning. The what does this mean? What does that mean? And in an analysis, for myself speaking as an analyst and as an analyst as well, so much of analysis is based in this kind of transferential unconscious, or the unconscious of the symbolic, the significance of this, the meaning of this, my story, my history, et cetera, et cetera. But the real unconscious, and I'll just say the real unconscious is the extent to which, we could say there's libido in the unconscious, there's jouissance in the unconscious that needs to get that will be very important for the subject to be able to access, to get something out of the analytic experience. So I give a range of different kinds of examples in the book, and I'll just quickly comment on two of them to help, I think, maybe highlight at least the easy handle dimension, because people tend to, I got a little flack about this idea of an easy handle on the real, as if there's anything easy about the real. But I'll say this, the thing that got me to the point where I was able to make this formulation was in approaching again, for the third or fourth time, Seminar 23, which is Lacan's seminar on Joyce. For people who study Lacan, this is it's been available in a very nice English translation for maybe 10 years now. So it's one of the seminars. It's the latest, or it's the last of the seminars that's now available in English. So it's one of the few extended, long texts from the very late Lacan that we have available in a very high quality translation to work on. And it's a seminar where Lacan discusses James Joyce and knot theory, two very difficult things. One, Joyce and his work, Ulysses, Finnegan's Wake, and then knots. And, like many Lacanians, I felt that I myself had to become a little Joyce scholar you got to read all the Joyce, you got to read all the secondary literature, you got to try to read all the references to the different things Lacan talks about, and trying to get a handle on why did Lacan find Joyce so interesting or so important and so forth. And then, it struck me in preparing for this seminar, the book is a transcript of a seminar I gave. I came across a passage in the seminar where I realized that Lacan kind of dropped all this stuff about digging into all these sort of biographical details and looking into the texts, and he just pulls one significant incident out, which is an incident that's in Stephen Hero, I think, where the young Joyce, it's presumed this was Joyce, an experience Joyce had, was beaten up by some schoolmates and felt, and it affected his own relationship with his body. And he felt his anger kind of just fall from his body like a peel of a fruit falling, from the fruit. And Lacan says that this is it, Joyce, and it becomes the thesis he develops around Joyce and his relationship with his ego, or the image of his body, based on this one episode from Joyce's life. And it occurred to me that what Lacan does is he found what he felt was, the thing that captured what was most significant for Joyce, not in the meaning sense, but in a way of being able to do something with the Joyce phenomenon in this one thing. And that phrase "easy handle" comes from Lacan's own words from the seminar, as him talking about how finally he was able to sort of grasp something of Joyce. And I do give other clinical examples, including an example from my own analysis, where in the 4th chapter, where my analyst gives this very almost banal, simple interpretation of something that I've been talking about, that all of a sudden allowed me to grasp something of the real that was at stake for me, that I've been working on in my analysis, and get a handle on it in a way that I'd never been able to before in the analysis. And it was a very important intervention from the analyst that kind of shifted everything for me in the analysis. So I think the emphasis I want to give in the book is we need to, as analysts, sort of aim at that real and try to grasp it to the extent that we can, to be able to have for analysis to offer everything that it is capable of doing. I mean, working on meaning is not unique to Lacanian psychoanalysis, or psychoanalysis even. All the therapies work at the level of meaning. What makes Lacanian psychoanalysis distinctive is to work at the level of the real.
Thanks, Tom. So many different associations to what you just said, and maybe if I could just share one thought, and maybe just to park it to one side so I don't conflate my point with anything you've said. But it reminds me, even going back to Freud, the kernel of the dream, this irreducible, it's never gonna consent or be fully exhaustively interpreted. So just a little brief footnote like that just helps us, I think, because sometimes there's this notion, oh, well, now we must do only the real unconscious. This is a kind of whole new paradigm which fundamentally replaces what we've thought before. And, I think this is a misnomer, in as much as you can find examples whereby, another example for me, which is which is one of those haunting moments in Lacan. This is a great, now that I think about a topic for a seminar, what are the bits and pieces of Lacan that have haunted you that you've not been able to figure out for years and they just keep on coming back? But one of them for me was around seminar 2. Lacan is talking about Irma's dream, and there's all this literature, and at one point he kind of insists, the thing you really need to focus on here, don't worry about all this throat and stuff, this scientific formula which is positioned. And I'm like, whoa, what? How am I supposed? Anyways, I'm being a bit silly now, but there's something there about the real of this. This is a symbolic formula, but its absolute irreducibility to something brings with it something of a non-interpretable kernel or something. Anyways, just a slight a tangent on some of the things that you've said and been generous enough to share with us, Tom. Thank you.